Good evening, and welcome to the September 17th, 2014 legislative session of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Durayo?
Present.
Trustee Casada?
Present.
Trustee Garrity?
Present.
Mayor Hanauer?
Present.
We have 3 public hearings on tonight's agenda. Our first public hearing is in the matter of the Section 8 5-year plan. Director of Section 8, Marilyn Geraldo, is joining us this evening, and I'd like to ask her to come up and say a few words.
Hi, the 5-year plan for the calendar year January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2019 includes the basic policies, rules, requirements concerning the Housing Choice Voucher Program, office operations, program, and services. It also informs HUD, families served by the Village of Ossining, members, public of the public of our missions, strategies, and services needed for low-income families and very low income. The PHA certification of compliance with the plans and related regulations, civil rights certification, certification for the PHA plan consistency with the consolidated plan were posted for 45 days at the Section 8 office, town clerk, public library, and the Joseph Capucho Community Center. As of today, we have not received any comments or any corrections, amendments to the 5-year plans. The Village of Ossining only has to do the 5-year plans because since we've been high performance, we no longer have to do the 1-year plan. Every 5 years only.
Thank you.
Good.
Has anyone come to speak with regard to this matter tonight? Seeing that there's no one here to speak on this, I'd like to close the public hearing.
Need a motion?
Okay, motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Yeah, I do have a copy of that. The next public hearing on for tonight is zoning amendments, local law number 4, and Corporation Council is going to speak to that matter.
Okay, by way of introduction, local law number 4, if you recall, actually seeks to remove the obligation on the part of developers to include a specific and mandatory number of units with 3-bedroom counts. So this will remove that mandatory obligation, and it will permit the developer to propose 3 bedrooms and the number of units on his own. It does not remove the option for 3 bedrooms. It simply takes the mandatory language out of your code.
Thank you.
And I have one item to enter into the record. As you know, your call for the public hearing also designated yourselves as the only approval agency, as the lead agency under SECRA. And it also sought referrals and recommendations for both the Planning Board and the EAC. The Planning Board because it's a change in your zoning code, and the EAC because they needed to determine a consistency with your local waterfront revitalization program. I have received through the Department of Planning both of the excerpts from minutes, excerpts from the minutes of August 26 for the Planning Board, and their recommendation is in writing, and the chairman asked for a motion to recommend to the Village Board the removal of the 3-bedroom minimum requirements from the PW, CDD, and IR districts. There was a motion and a second, and it was carried unanimously by the members of the board who were present. So the Planning Board's recommendation was positive. The EAC recommendation had to do with, like I said, the consistency with the intent of your LWRP. And that meeting was held on September 2nd. and they reviewed the short environmental assessment form, the draft introductory law number 4, and also took a look at the coastal assessment, and they found it to be consistent with the intent of the LWRP by an affirmative act of that commission as well. So both of your recommendations and referrals in that vein were positive. Also, we received comments back from the county planning department. As you know, you're required under general municipal law to send any proposed amendments to your zoning code to the county planning department. And that was also, they declined to provide comments, they finding no reason to for a negative comment. So all 3 of your referrals came back positive. So you are free to take comments tonight from the public on this and to take action appropriately.
Thank you.
Has anyone come here this evening to speak on this issue?
Yeah, I'd like to say something about this. There's been a lot of concern in the community about the impact of development on our schools. Part of the reason we're doing this is to hopefully give incentive to developers to do less 2- and 3-bedroom apartments and more 1-bedroom and studio apartment. And this is one of the things we're doing to address concerns about overcrowding in the schools. And so that's the subtext here.
That requirement for 3-bedroom apartments was passed at a time when we were encouraging larger families to move into the village. But we're no longer encouraging that. We're not banning it, but it's no longer a chief priority in terms of development.
Okay, is there anybody else? Seeing no one here to speak on, I'd like to make a motion, request a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All those opposed? Okay, so moved. So the third public hearing tonight is on local law number 5, amending the village code to establish a landlord registry for rental properties containing 2 or more residential dwelling units. Our village manager, Richard Lyons, is going to say a few words about that item.
Thank you. Before turning this matter over to Corporation Counsel to explain the different chapters and sections of the proposed local law, I wanted to just comment on the context in which is brought forward. There's been much discussion about the growth in the village of Ossining, and some of it is at times alluded to or attributed to the fact that there may be overcrowding situations that are not unusual or unique to the village. A lot of communities are experiencing the same situation. Mostly based on the size of the original one-family units and the size of the square footage of the residences that are contained therein has been our experience. There are a number of opportunities to try to address this. The village, through its presentation by its planner, has shown that, in fact, the growth of population, in particular the growth of school children, is not necessarily or anything more than nominally attributable to a perception of overcrowding. There are many other elements that contribute to it, including the closing of 2 parochial schools and the fact that the community has grown, period. Notwithstanding, the village has been studying other ways that it may get a better handle on who its residents are, mainly for the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Pace University just completed a study of the building department and the planning department process within the village and found it to be extraordinary given the resources that are able to be committed to those departments under the current tax constraint. However, in order to give a better handle in terms of the village's ability to safeguard its residents, a number of local laws have come forward to be considered by the village to make that information more readily available and to safeguard residences. The first one that is being brought forward tonight for public hearing is the one that is has to do with the landlord registry for rental properties containing 2 or more residential dwelling units. This is hardly unique. We're not reinventing the wheel here. It is actually in place in several Westchester County communities already who have found it to be helpful to be able to contact landlords when there's an issue. We've had a number of issues with properties being walked away from that are in foreclosure, or landlords not being able to reach for any number of purposes, including our ability to get them to come to court. That's stymied us quite significantly, unfortunately. So we're trying to address that by having better contact information and being able to process it in that way. The bottom line on being able to get access to residential properties is that there is a right of privacy and there is a constitutional right to maintain your home. And so access by municipalities is extremely limited. So as a result of that, there are certain other avenues that have been followed by such communities as Portchester, Mount Kisco, and Brewster, among others, to attempt to be able to identify with greater specificity who the owners are, where our contacts are if we have to reach them, and how many illegal units they have in their property. So that's where this is coming from. It's the first step of many, and this is the first public hearing, hopefully, of many. And on that, I'll turn it over to council.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. This is proposed local law number 5, and if you recall, this has been the subject of 3 work sessions prior. I also note that at the work sessions that we had come up with a tentative proposed format of the annual landlord registration. And with your permission, I'd like to be able to upload that in draft, specifically stamped as draft, to the website as soon as tomorrow, because I know that you'll be continuing to deliberate and to discuss all options and taking comments tonight. I think it's important enough that it's not in final, but I think it's important enough since we have talked about it and I've provided it to you that I'd like to put it on the website, and I'm seeing people shaking their heads. So yes, I will have that uploaded tomorrow to the website to be sure we can see a visual aid as to what the proposed landlord registration form will look like and the information that it will contain. Again, as the village manager has mentioned, this is, at its basis, was local laws that have been promulgated in other communities and are used in other communities as a way to develop a comprehensive directory of contact information for purposes of our first responders and for purposes of our building department in efforts to ensure the responsible care, maintenance, and management of all rental properties. It is not necessarily a law that will be negative in nature. We're hoping it will be collaborative and positive in nature. As we've talked about it, it will be something that will be available for the village to use, the building department to use, the assessor to use. I mean, all of the people that will need to reach out and make contact to ensure safety of both the occupants and safety of the village staff members as well. So the definitions are clear in the first section, or section number 2 is your definition section, and then it talks about the registration and then the annual landlord registration and at a minimum what that will require. And when I upload tomorrow, you'll see how the annual registration requirements in the law will relate to the actual document itself. Keeping in mind that this will be a sworn statement, which you had insisted it be, because the importance of this document will be that it will be an oath and it will be able to be referred to as the actual facts of each property that will contain 2 or more of the rental units. So that's the summary of it. That was the reason behind it, and coupled with the manager's comments, I can open it up to the board for further review and to taking of public comments.
I think we should begin with the public comments at this point. The board will discuss it further at work session next.
And it's my understanding that there was a limit on the comments?
Yes.
And was that 3 minutes, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. Is there anyone come to speak on this matter this evening? Hello, good evening.
Joe Rodriguez, 129 Croton Avenue. Some things,
Before you start, Joe, let's amend that to 4 minutes.
4 minutes? Okay, thank you.
I won't speak 4 minutes, but anyway. Some of the issues you bring up are valid and some are not. I understand permits are necessary in certain things. For example, having a security system in the house and you have to get a permit to register. I understand that part, because the police department needs to be aware of that. Getting a permit for to register a multifamily house with 2 families or more, for a house that is already known that you guys are charging us taxes for a multifamily house, to let us know that we have a 2-family house that you already know because we're paying taxes on it, seems a little ridiculous. If you want to know census on how many people live in a house, then you should send out an application and tell the homeowners to fill out what the census is, and if anything in that application is deceptive, at that point, then you can fine the landlord. But to go in and charge everybody $25 or more to tell you that they have a 2-family house doesn't seem very reasonable to me. And you multiply that by all the houses in the village of Ossining, that's quite a bit of money. And the other thing is, who's gonna take care of all these, monitor these applications? And is somebody else going to be hired? Is that going to be another job to take care of that? It's just going to snowball into other different things, which I don't agree with. The other thing is, if I didn't find out from somebody else that this was happening, how do the other village residents know that this is going on? So if nobody knows that this is going on, I'm assuming if this passes in a month or 2 from now, somebody's going to get a letter in the mail saying you have to pay a $1,000 fine because you never registered your house. Just a couple of suggestions that I think maybe should have been done to let the village residents be aware of this law trying to be passed or something like that. I don't know. I had a lot of things to say, but I only did a minute, so all right.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Good evening, folks. Stephen Dewey, local attorney. Thank you for your services here in the village. A couple of comments on this. As many of you do or don't know, I'm an attorney here in the village, and I represent a major portion of some of the landlords here that have major units. Unlike Mount Kisco and Brewster, we've got some buildings that are 20 to 40 units each, and some of our owners are in there. So a couple of questions I wanted to address. In reading the law quickly, and I realize it's a proposal, this is going to be a registration of a property, correct, and not per unit? I think we're all agreed on that. I don't think it's any question that if a landlord now, if the law is allowed to expand, obviously these fines are allowed to be risen at the board's discretion. We don't want to see that discretion allowed that the board now start registering every apartment. That would be a pretty onerous financial burden on our landlords. And by the way, the landlords, and this is not offense to the 2 or 3 family landlord, many of whom I represent, that do watch over their properties. These are landlords that oversee the properties with great zeal. They know their tenants. They are in there immediately if there's additional tenants making noise, and the other tenants tell them that, and we move to discharge those tenants if need be. I think that could this law be tailored or maybe censored down to a 2 to 6 family unit, maybe less than 6, something along those lines. The Syracuse law has 1 or more. They go to 1. Mount Kisco and Brewster, I believe, are 2 or more. But I don't know of any laws that leave it limited maybe to 6. And quite frankly, it would be my belief that the real issues that we have here are with the smaller units. Again, I do represent landlords, 1 to 3 families, but I don't believe the issues that we're looking for in this are the overcrowding in the 20 and 34 unit buildings. And I think that those landlords that spend a lot of money in taxes, spend a lot of money in maintaining those buildings, they shouldn't, maybe we need not have this law apply to them if that could be done. The second part of it, could there be a sunset provision? Look, if we find this law is obsolete after 3 years, could it go away? In other words, we put something in there that this is now revisited 3 years from now to re-invite this for discussion or to give it a new expiration date. And finally, the thing is, and it's not part of this law, so I apologize for stepping out on this, but the definition of family under our own code, our own village code, not only is the householder with the blood relatives, but on Part B, it's a group of persons caring for a reasonable number of individuals in a family-like living apart arrangement, which in all outward appearances is the functional and factual equivalent of a family. The real issue, and some of you do or don't know, I'm a member of the fire department. I cannot, and I am not speaking for the fire department here tonight. But as a member of the truck, we're the first crew in, we're the first ones to see it. It's the hot cots. It's the tenant, not the landlord. It's the tenant that has put the 3 or 4 extra beds in the bedroom, that have boarded up a door that was a stairway that we can't get into. Because technically by law, you've given everyone a right to have 5 or more persons in there, related or unrelated, and they would be following the guidelines of the law. So the question is, not only is this law, we'd like you to visit that, but maybe our own definition of family, what limits it? We don't want single owner, the family coming in and we got 10 people there for a week. Hey, that's great. But the folks that are really abusing it sometimes are the actual tenants who lease out hot cots to other tenants who then don't give that money obviously to the landlord, but we are now seeing those children in our schools unregistered. We are seeing those tenants on the streets. But that could be actually the issue here, but you got a law protecting it. So I wonder if that part of the our code could be revisited as well. And I thank you for your time. We do have these landlords available to speak to any trustees at any time on a meeting along those lines, and some of these landlords would actually volunteer for you to help along with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Steve. Richard?
Thank you. Just a clarification, the definition of family is mandated by New York State law. It's not,
Right.
it's not created by the Village of Ossining. It's mandated by law. Secondly, each individual bedroom does require a minimum square footage. So if you're put it by New York State law, so if someone is being placed in a space less than that, it's not in compliance with law.
Well, we got home rule too, right?
Also, one more thing, the unregistered children in school that you speak of, Steve, the schools don't allow children to register there without 3 pieces of proof of residence. I have, every year, I have an exchange student from some other part of the world, and I have to go through that process just as everybody else does. So, yes.
Hello, my name is Lily Santos. I'm here actually for my parents at Aqueduct Street, and my neighbor, they have a 2-family home for over 30 years in the town. We're kind of shocked about this new law that you guys want to put in because, you know, what provisions do you guys have? We guys already have, you know, parking permits, so you guys already know that the landlords have to sign for who's parking in the street. So therefore, you guys kind of already know who's living in our apartments. You already know, because we pay the 2-family fee, that we already are a 2-family house. So it kind of seems like the town already knows what we have and what we do and who actually lives there. So then you're saying that they're going to talk to each other, but it seems like they're not talking to each other, because if they did talk to each other, then with the school enrollment, with the parking passes, with all this other enrollment stuff that we all have to pay, it's kind of like a wish-wash. Everything washes inside the other. So that's one comment. Other comment is, what liability are you owing to the landlords? Because, you know, it's happened to us many a times where we're renting to a family, they break up, another boyfriend comes and moves in. Do I have to now file another application to you, another $25 to tell you, listen, they broke up and now the daughter's back from college, or this is happening? You know, what provisions do you guys have for having to keep refiling this permit for my parents? And right, I mean, let's say you guys go inspect and then you realize, okay, you know what? This person isn't living here. Well, I don't know, they moved out. It's not, as a landlord, it's not my business to know if, you know, the family broke up, somebody moved back from college. As long as, you know, they don't exceed the capacity of the people that we know that are living in there, we don't care who lives there. We don't ask for names, numbers, addresses, social securities, date of births. That's not our business. Let's have our lease. As long as they don't break the lease, we have no issues with that. Another comment is, I lost my other comment. Right, I just wanted to know what provisions you guys have for them to hold them liable if they, let's say you guys come and inspect and you realize that they're not there, all of a sudden now they're going to get banged with $1,000 because what they submitted in the beginning of the year and now in mid-year doesn't match up. So that's one of our main questions and one of our comments.
Thank you. That's an interesting issue, and we will look at it and address it, Lori.
There's no inspection involved with this. It's a registration of information for the property. And there's no additional fee if there's changes in the information during the annual year.
Right, it's only once a year.
It's once a year, and it's self-regulated by the property owners, so that's just a reminder.
Right, but at one of the provisions, it also said if, and it does change, like let's say we do a 6-month lease as opposed to a yearly lease, are we then liable to submit every 6 months?
No, but you don't have to do it. You don't have to register twice any more than once a year. If you want to update the information, we would love it if you did that, but you're not going to have to pay $25 if you have a lot of turnover in your apartment.
The law to
Well, I think that's something we will address. We will look at that and address it.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Santos.
The law speaks to the units, not the persons, so I don't believe that's applicable. Secondly, the discussion about the on-street parking tag, the hardship exemption. The hardship exemption is primarily for those properties that either do not have driveways to accommodate their tenants or do not have sufficient driveways to accommodate tenants. The exemption certificates for the on-street parking are only given for those dwelling units that are proven to be legal. They're not granted for others. So if there were additional units, wouldn't come under that program. So that is why the two are not necessarily compatible.
Thank you. Next.
Hello. My name is Carlos Panjone, and I am a member leader of Community Voices Heard. We are here in support of landlords providing safe and welcoming housing to our immigrant and low-income communities. When CVH met with each of the trustees...
Excuse me.
Carlos,
We have someone speaking. Can we keep the
A few
noise
of
from the
you
crowd
explained
down?
to us that a proposed landlord registry was a way to address overcrowding. A crackdown on overcrowding housing could mean homelessness and displacement for many of our families. We are not in support of targeting immigrant and low-income families who have no other place to go. We will be watching carefully to see that immigrant families and others will not be victimized by this policy and that landlords would hold up their end of the bargain to provide safe, clean, and affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're not in support of targeting immigrants or tenants. We are looking at ways that we can solve issues, and one of those ways, as you know, we've had this conversation, that we need to find developers who will build housing that is safe and secure for people who don't have a lot of money to spend. It's not an immediately easy thing to do to solve that problem, but it is part of something that we're going to have to face.
Yeah, understand, very important for you to understand that we're trying to make it so that people don't so that greedy landlords do not take advantage of people who not have the economic wherewithal to get their own home. People who rent should not be victimized. People who rent should have the right to a safe place to live that has running water, that's hot when it should be hot and cold when it should be cold, and clean all the time, and heat when it's cold, and they should not be put at risk if there's a fire or a medical emergency. We want to keep our first responders safe, but we also want to keep the tenants safe. And when they start breaking up a one-family or two-family home into 27 little cubicles, they're taking advantage of people who are economically disadvantaged and making it unsafe for them. So you need to know that your issues are our issues, and this is only one step. There's a lot of things we need to do. We need to address the needs of the immigrant population here, but it's not just immigrants. There are plenty of people who are born here who are the working poor. You don't have to be an immigrant to be poor, and poor people come in all the genders and all the shapes and all the colors and of the rainbow, and we care, and we're going to continue to care, and we're going to continue to try and make it better.
Thank you, Carlos.
Next speaker, please.
Linda A. Mangano, Ellis Place. I love it. I haven't been here quite some time, but I love it, Billy, that your speaking rules, usually with a public hearing, there's no time limit. But I love that you change the rules as you see fit. So wrong of you. Richard Lyons said in the beginning, he says, and I quote, "This law is several Westchester municipalities." I already did my homework. Later on, you said Mount Kisco, Port Chester, and Brewster. I don't think Brewster's in Westchester, is it? No. There's only 2 such laws of rental registry. Also, you were speaking about overnight parking. You don't have to be a resident to get an overnight parking permit. You do not have to be a resident. I know I've ordered 10 at a time for relatives. So I think it's misleading, some of the things you say. Whose files trump whose?
Beg your pardon?
The assessor, what?
Sorry, what did you say?
Whose files trump whose? The assessor or the building department? The building department, as you all know, I sit in court on Tuesday afternoons, and our building department is raping our elderly people. I see it almost every Tuesday. You can have someone who went through the whole 9 yards and converted a 1-family to a 2-family, and they've been paying taxes on a 2-family for 15 years, but the building department shows it's a 1-family. These people are getting fined thousands of dollars. Which files trump whose? Assessor or building department? If someone's paying taxes on a 2-family or 3-family, and building department has their record's only 1 family, someone screwed up here. I mean, I see it every Tuesday. And their records are fouled up. The building department, before Sirocco got there, used to call me up and say, "Linda, on Ellis Place, is 32 Ellis Place a 2-family or 4-family? 4. And, yeah, Mr. Sirocco, that in 2007 was earning $50,000 in Mamaroneck. We hired him at 100.
This isn't appropriate for this topic.
It is entirely inappropriate, Linda.
I'm on a rampage with this.
Well, stick to the issue.
Do the rules say I have to stick with the issue?
Yeah.
Okay, I own a 2-family. I think you have continue to have Gestapo tactics. The wording in some of these things say, I lost my piece of paper here already. That the building department can come into my house whenever the hell they want to at any reasonable hour. No, tell the people you don't have to let anybody into your house. Even here it is. With the rapid entry system, building department shall have right to enter any building at any reasonable hour in the execution of their duties. Every time I turn around, Sirocco's got extra duties. That's why he needs other people on staff. We need permits for overnight parking, municipal lot parking, tree removal, awnings, signs, demolition, electrical and plumbing. I agree with. Section 8. Next, you're going to charge us, Billy, to breathe. This is an imposition on me. I don't like it, and I don't want to pay you the $25. So Al Sirocco could hire someone else on his staff. You became mayor in 2007. From 2007 till 2013, you, since you're the head of the helm, I've gotten a 44% increase in village taxes. This registry system is no more than an additional tax. This way you're getting more money, and Sirocco can hire another building department employee, which is these. What did you teach him to be a Gestapo?
I'm offended with the
absolutely
personal
opposed
attacks
to this.
to our personnel.
Linda,
Excuse
would
me?
you please stick to the topic and stop with the hurling the words at us, please? Just
You
stick-
can't curve my
Nothing.
speech. I know what I'm allowed to say and what I can't say. This all pertains to building department. Oh, and the only reason why you have a timer here is because years ago I bought the village 2 timers, hand ones. But you made your rules up tonight, Billy. That's not nice, Gestapo. Oh, I have 2 more minutes.
Could we maintain some order, please?
Next speaker, thank you.
Adnan Ziada, I'm Executive Director of the Building and Realty Institute. I've just submitted a statement in opposition to this proposal. I must add, and I'm not going to read the statement and take up extra time. I must say that I've spent many years with extensive background in both the public and private sector, in the construction industry, building and real estate, and with the Westchester County Department of Planning. Having been with the Planning Department, we dealt with organizations like Pratt University, Pace University, and the like. I find the report that was cited by Pace of the Building Department that it was either extraordinary or a terrific job. I'm always a little leery of qualitative assessments. I'd like to know if this report has any quantitative data of the performance of the building department, percentages, whatever. Is it posted on the website?
Yes.
Is it posted on the website? Because I've talked to several people who said they have not been able to find it. It'd be nice to see that since it's been highlighted here tonight. Another community in, you hear funny things like, greedy landlords. We represent over 300 landlords throughout Westchester County, including many in this village and this town. And I can tell you that they comply with the law. They are not greedy, to talk about character assassination and words being thrown around. They are not greedy. They comply with all federal, state, and local law. And believe me, the regulatory requirement is tremendous. There's no comparable requirement on tenants, by the way. If this law were, like Syracuse, were covering single-family units, there would be not maybe 50 people here, there'd be 500 people here, okay? So, there's a reason why certain thresholds are made, why certain fees are imposed, and you try to find a political balance or mix. I understand there's, demographically, I understand there's one person on the board who's of Hispanic heritage. That's 20%. My guess is, wearing my old demographic hat in the Westchester County Planning Department, that the percentage of the Hispanic population in this community is far above that. I think you're targeting. One could make the case, and I intend to bring the full weight of the Building and Realty Institute's legal counsel to bear on this and to study this. I think one can make the case that you are targeting minority owners of buildings. You are singling them out, because if you didn't want to single them out, then you'd make it like the Syracuse law, and you know what? Any possible unit that could be rented should be registered. If the building department is doing its job, then these so-called concerns of overcrowding and health, legitimate concerns, then if the department is doing its extraordinary job, then there should be no problem with overcrowding and health issues, whatever. All right? If the current laws of this village, of the good laws of this village to accomplish the goals, the common goals, as you say, for owner and tenant alike, if they're being enforced, there should be no problem in the village. I live in the town of Mount Pleasant, and I can tell you the building department does an extraordinary job, and there is no problem. If there is a problem, boy, they fix it pretty quick. Okay? So I think one could make the case that this is singling out minority owners. I intend to have the Building and Realty Institute considerable resources of legal counsel to look into this. I'm no attorney, let me tell you, but I've got a certain amount of common sense. To kind of paraphrase, anybody who knows me, there's always a film connection. And Henry Fonda in The Young Mr. Lincoln says, I may not know too much about, the law, but I know what's right and what's wrong. And this is the beginning of a very wrong idea for the village of Ossining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miguel Hernandez, 10 North Water Street. For the record, I want to say I'm neither a landlord, and I'm certainly, like most of everyone here, against illegal housing. That said, I do want to know where this number of $25 per apartment came from, and how much this program is in fact going to cost. I'm particularly upset that people with one or with two rental apartments pay $10, but a landlord with 25 or 35 or $45 pay 45 apartments only pays $10. So I think that's unfair, and we should, if we're going to have a fee at all, it should be progressive based on the number of apartments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who came to speak?
Let me just address that briefly. That, like everything else in this document, is going to continue to be discussed by the board, and the fee is as much a draft as everything else in this document is. Yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Steve Vesio of 199 Main Street. I read through this law, and I read the purpose, which says to establish a comprehensive landlord registry of all rental properties, but from what I'm hearing tonight, the purpose is a little bit different than that. It's to address an overcrowding problem. What I want to know is how this is going to help that. It seems like the law itself is singling out one class of property. Don't we care who owns the commercial properties, the offices, the retail, the medical? Isn't it just as important to get in touch with those folks? Another thing which more fees, really? Another $25 for every property? I mean, the fees in this village are out of control. They're just out of control. You know that you guys have a fee for a going out of business sale? It's $30. You're going out of business. I mean, come on. You guys want to be more about business. You want to be business friendly. Then get out of our way. Stop charging us fees. Help us. Don't charge us. People will want to come here if it's a good business environment. This doesn't help that. I 100% agree that overcrowding is the #1 problem in this village. It affects our schools, it affects our taxes. It must be addressed. I'm not sure that this is the way to do that. I'm really not. Right now, you guys are going through a reassessment. If you want to know who owns the property, which you should already because you send them tax bills, use this as a tool. You're already paying to have these people go out and check the building department files to the tax files. So just have them find out who owns the property and how to get a hold of them. Now I don't have to pay $25, and you guys know who owns what property. Other ways that you can address overcrowding. Look on MLS. I've been into plenty of houses as a realtor that are not properly, not proper. Let's just say that. Use your building department. If you notice 5 direct TV dishes on a roof, and it's a two-family, chances are they have more than 2 units. Use your fire department, use your police, use whatever tools that you can to gain access. But I don't think creating a registry, charging everybody here $25 is going to address overcrowding. I really don't. It's just going to use up more of the resources that are already strained. I mean, if you want to address illegal housing, make the punishment for it so severe that it would vastly outweigh any benefit somebody could get from breaking the law. I mean, you can do that. That's well within your rights as the village. As far as the schools, I'm not exactly sure what proof of residency Ossining requires. I don't know if it's a phone bill. I don't know if it's a letter from the landlord. But I know that this is not a village board issue. It's a school issue. But that's something else that could be used to really tighten it. I mean, you could really tighten it that way as well. With that said, I do feel the village has made a lot of positive strides in improving itself, and I've grown up in this area my whole life. So I've kind of seen Ossining go through a lot of different, waves. And right now it's on an upswing, and we're trusting you guys as the residents and property owners to do the right thing for us in the village for the next, looking out 30, 40 years. And sometimes I just want to leave you with this. Never sacrifice your long-term goals for short-term gains. All right? Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Steve, there are several things which you bring up which we are by law not allowed to use for telling how many people live in a place. The fire department, unless there is a fire and is in the building, cannot just go into the building and deal with that. Antennas on the roof, we are not allowed to use antennas on the roof as evidence of more than the correct number of units. We're not allowed to use water meters. We're not allowed to use electric meters. We're not allowed to use phones. By law, not our laws, by other laws and case law. So there are a lot of issues here. Also, remember, please, that the tax assessing unit that hired Tyler Industries is the town. It's not the village. And the town contracted, as did its partners in this. What are there, 3 or 4 more communities, Kim, that are doing this at the same time? Though they have the same elements to the contract as all the other communities do. If finding out any of this information is even in their contract, it will sift ultimately down to us, but it probably is not in their contract because their job is to measure units. It's to measure buildings, to measure the outside, to measure the rooms. That's their job. Right? It is not to deal with how many people live there or whether you have a Chippendale sofa, or it doesn't matter. None of that matters to what they're doing. So we can't do a lot of what you're suggesting we do. Melita.
Hi, Melita Rodriguez, Croton Avenue. I really don't know too much about the laws in Ossining, but when I hear something by mouth, it really bothers me because you guys over there just try to take as much money from the residents as you come up with these things that to affect the people that live here, and I don't think that that's right. Now, if you are trying to pass this law, every person in Ossining should be notified by mail or even a registered letter. You can spend money on that to make sure that they get it, okay? And let them vote on it to see if they're for it or against it. Use, you're taking our money away for people that really work very hard for it, okay? And the penalty and offenses. An owner committing an offense against any provision of this chapter shall also constitute a violation of this chapter and may be punishable by criminal fine or subject to civil penalty in an amount no less than $250 and no need to exceed $1,000. Each day it goes by. What are you, insane? Where do you think we get this money from? Like the office, the mahogany office that you spend over $1 million on that. What does it use? You're not there, you're over here. Is it too good, the mahogany, now for you? I'm appalled at that. I'm appalled at all of you up there, okay? Is this another way for you getting money for the revenue to pay off your debts? Well, do with somebody else. Do with your own money. Don't do with mine, because I can't afford it. And none of these people over here can afford it either. Okay? So I am totally against this, and I hope we're being taped. Maybe the people that aren't here, that you took off the television because you didn't want them to know what was being said, maybe they'll be hearing this and get on their, asses and do something about it, because it sucks.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Mike Beldotti, Sea Lane Terrace. I'd like to thank you guys for your service. This certainly is a contentious issue. A lot of points have already been made, so I won't kind of bring them back up. I have a lot of the same concerns that the public has. One of the things that I didn't hear mentioned, I'll just mention this quickly. You also talk about commercial and residential, so we probably want to clarify that better. My big concern as a multifamily property owner in the village who's, hands-on and wants to give good service and provide quality housing to people, I'm just worried about the unintended consequences here. It seems like a fee here, an expense there. It just keeps raising the cost of doing business, and in the end user will pay. So what's going to wind up happening is, at the end of the day, the tenant just pays more rent. So I don't think we want to go in that direction. We want to keep Ossining affordable for everybody. And I'd be happy to help out in any way. Be on a committee if we want to discuss this further, come up with some good ideas, some good solutions. I'm just really concerned about more regulation, more cost, and like I said, I don't want to bring back a lot of the issues that have been talked about, but, again, anything we could do to make this better. I'm not for it, but, we should continue to talk about it and give everybody an opportunity, because I just found about it last Friday night, and, I mentioned it to a few other guys I know, and I think, more people will want to talk about this. So thanks for your time.
Thank
I know
you.
it's a contentious issue, but
Thank you.
thanks.
As Corporation Counsel has mentioned, we have addressed this in its early stages at 3 work sessions, which are televised. This is being televised. And it is on the web. It's in our web blast. We send our agenda to the newspaper of record. Whether or not they print it is their option, but we send it to them as required every week. So the concept of sending a registered letter, for instance, to every person in Ossining, that's 14,000 households, that's a huge amount of money.
No, again, I only spoke to the fact that I just found out about it Friday, and I know there are a lot of things. Just keeping up on a planning board agenda is hard enough to do. Now, you guys have, an agenda that could last, 12 hours here, it looks like. So,
And
again,
we-
thanks for your service, and
And we
anything I
thank
could do
you
to
for yours and
help
for your
out.
comment.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else here to speak this matter? Seeing no one else here this evening, I'd like to ask the board if they wanted to, would like to continue. Or did the board have?
I think we should adjourn the hearing, which means it's not closed. It means that we will accept written comments and that we, if there is need to, we will open the hearing again in 2 weeks.
We need a motion for that?
Yeah, if you want to make a
certain.
motion,
Yes, I'd like to make a
it
motion.
needs to be adjourned to a date certain.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this to you tell me when.
Yeah, I was just asking the board if they wanted to continue this till the October 1st meeting.
October 1st
So,
meeting.
do I have a motion for
Yes,
continuance
motion
for?
to adjourn to October 1st.
Second.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
It's done?
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, if I may, it seems like a lot of people came out in regards to this issue, which is very interesting to see a lot of homeowners in here, which is always good to see our sort of empty chairs being filled with people with passion in what actually happens in Ossining. Different municipalities have passed this, and I have spoke to different municipalities. Yes, thank you, Linda. 2, Westchester and Mount Kisco. Yes, and I have talked to them myself personally. It seems like one of the biggest issues that a lot of people are having is this $25 fee. So please come next week, next Wednesday, to our work session. Well, we'll have this part 2 of what is going to be continued. I'm not sure, we're not looking, and I can, it's only one voice right now. I'm not looking to make money out of this. I don't think we are. We definitely are not looking to hire an additional person for the billing department. So all those comments, I'm not sure where they're coming from, but a lot of this stuff, we actually, wrote a lot of notes on it. I'll be contacting a lot of people. I'm going to be contacting the billing department of Mount Pleasant as well, so I can get some information in there to see how they do their process. So I have a lot of homework myself to do for next week. So I encourage everybody that is here to come to our next work session. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yes, Bob.
We're not wedded to a $25 fee, or in fact, any fee. My understanding is that Mount Kisco has dropped their fee.
Lowered it.
Did they lower it? They lowered it. Okay. I
$10.
think the issue of the fee is not what's most important, and it seems to me that the consensus, at least the folks in the room, is that you find the fee really onerous. We get it. We hear you. I certainly have no problem with voting to not have a fee. My concern is that when somebody said that we're targeting minority owners, heck, I don't know who the owners are. Part of the problem is you go to the tax assessor's office, and the properties are owned by a corporation, owned by a corporation, owned by a corporation, owned by someplace out of state. And so it's a lot of times it's not useful. And the reason why we want an actual person that owns the property is so that we're not wasting time, not having Al jumping through all these hoops to find the actual person who really owns property. So when folks say, well, you can just use the tax rolls, you really can't, because what they'll do is they'll put an entity and have an account that the taxes get paid out of, that's owned by a corporation. So there isn't a person that you can go and chase if their house has violations, that it's dangerous. So that's one of the things we want to do. We want to make it easier for our building department and our code enforcement officers to be able to find the people who are responsible for unsafe conditions. And for me, that's what this whole thing is about. Thank you.
I'd like to briefly comment, and to pick up where Trustee Durayo just mentioned, this is intended to be a tool to assist in the enforcement of the existing laws. I'm so heartened to see the incredible turnout of concerned community members who want to be sure that their concerns are heard before we move forward with enacting any new law. And I'm sorry, my only regret is that we hadn't done a better job reaching out to you earlier in this process, because as it's been stated, we have discussed this publicly 3 times, and we have fulfilled all of our notification obligations to the public, but clearly that's not working very well. It's not adequate. So we need to find more ways to reach out to the public so that you know early on in the process that we want your voice to be part of this. We want to create laws that support the goals of our community, and we need the people of the community to help us do that well. So thank you to everyone who is here tonight. Our meeting next week is Wednesday, 7:30 at Village Hall, and I hope to see more of you there as we discuss this in a work session.
Thank you. Shall we move on, please?
So, does the mayor or board have any additional announcements?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
On Saturday, this is a very busy Saturday this coming weekend, September 20th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Ossining Recreation Department and Parks Department, Phelps Memorial Hospital, the Open Door Medical Centers, Club Fit, and the Friends of Richard G. Wishney Park will sponsor a Family Health and Fitness Day in Wishney Park, which is at Pleasantville Road and Orchard Road next to the Chilmark Shopping Center. There are going to be a lot of booths, a lot of fitness events and walking races, games, recess rocks, whatever that means, I'm not sure. Yoga, chiropractic demonstrations, health exhibits, information by local health professionals, nutritional advice. There'll be food, healthy food, I'm told. The Rotary is going to be making turkey hot dogs. The new Westchester Knicks basketball team will be there. So, also on Saturday at noon, I'll cut the ribbon at the grand opening of the new New York Pet Care on 179 North Highland Avenue. It's the one that looks like an old Scottish castle with the stone and whatever. And at 4 o'clock, I'll cut another ribbon, and this one at the new Karma Lounge, which has the same name as the old Karma Lounge, but it is now a Guatemalan restaurant, and it's a wonderful place to eat. So please plan to join us. Anyone else?
Yes, I'll call. Chief, are you going to talk about the Drug Take Back Day on the 27th? All right. Okay, then I'll let you do that, and just remind everyone to go ahead and visit the ossining.energizeny.org and find out how, for perhaps little or no out-of-pocket money, you can make your home more valuable, more comfortable, and more efficient, and easier to financially maintain by making do an energy efficiency upgrade. There are a lot of programs out there. They are started working with just residential properties, but now there are many other properties that have access to funding opportunities that can help finance the upgrades. So please go ahead and visit ossining.energizeny.org and learn more about how you can take advantage of it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is anybody else? No? Okay, we move on to administrative reports. Village Manager Richard Lyons.
Just very briefly, I wanted to just share with the public that which the village board is well aware. We're very gratified to announce that the town of Ossining, at its meeting last evening, made an announcement that in response to their request for proposal, that they've determined to go with the Village of Ossining Police Services for the unconsolidated area of the town outside villages. So we are really thrilled that the Village of Ossining is going to be able to provide police services to the town. Over the next few days, we are going to get together and have several additional meetings to work out some of the details of the contract and the remaining terms of the agreement. And so we'll be looking forward to starting to provide that service in January of 15. So very excited. We thank the town of Ossining for their consideration, and we look forward to additional collaboration with the town.
Thank you, Rich.
Okay, our next report is from our Corporation Counsel, Ms. Lori Lee Dixon.
Thank you. Before I address your resolutions pertinent to the legal department, I just want to say and remind the public at large that there is a state law that requires you to yield to pedestrians who are in crosswalks, and this is a reminder because very often the cars are not understanding that it's a state law regardless of whether there's a little triangle sign in the middle of the road or not. And I know the police have stepped up enforcement. I just would like the public to be generally aware that the state law does require you to yield to pedestrians in a crosswalk, whether that crosswalk is in the downtown area or whether that crosswalk is actually along Route 9. So it's important, especially this time of year when we have so many school children out on the streets and the school buses are coming throughout the day. So just to be aware of that law.
Thank you. Melita, could you please take the conversation out into the hall?
Okay, and I just wanted to point out item F for the benefit of the public. I wanted to point out item F, which is an authorization of formal resolution of the board to accept a payment post redemption date on foreclosed tax lien. We take this action because by statute the treasurer has no authority to accept a payment of taxes once the tax lien is foreclosed past the redemption date. So we take this action, and we've done it in the past, and we'll continue to do it because it is our policy not to acquire property for tax purposes, but to, in fact, encourage and enable taxpayers to pay when they are able and capable, and with the assistance of Deputy Treasurer Dale Ferrara, who really does take this task very seriously. She and I then accept documentation and evidence with which to ascertain that the taxpayer is ready and willing and prepared to be completely up to date. So in this case, if you to take action tonight, we can take the payment as early as tomorrow, and this property will be completely up to date on their real estate taxes.
That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, Police Chief Joseph Burton, do you have a report for us this evening?
Yes, good evening. Statistics for the month of August. Blotter entries recorded 2,322. Vehicle and traffic summonses 175. Parking summonses 1,219. Part 1 crimes, uniform crime reports were 25. Arrests for the month were 96. Penal law arrests 62. Village ordinances 10. Vehicle traffic were 24. And as Trustee Garrity lead in was that Saturday, September 27th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Ossining Police with Ossining Community Act Cares will be joining everyone with the National Prescription Take Back Day. That's when you can come down here to the lobby of the municipal building and safely dispose of unwanted prescriptions, medications, patches, ointments, over-the-counter medications, vitamin samples, and pet medications. And that's just that one day that you can come down and have a big party and see us, but we do have a box in our police lobby that's 24/7. So if you have these items, you can drop it in there anytime. And with what the village manager had just mentioned about taking over patrol of the town of Ossining, unincorporated part of the town of Ossining, I guess that makes my patch correct. because it always says Ossining Police, never said Village of Ossining Police. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have the fire chief's report. Second Assistant Chief Manicchio was here earlier, and he had to leave because he has children in the schools, and he had open school night tonight. But he asked me to tell everyone that year to date, the fire department has answered 450 calls. This past weekend, we celebrated 50-year anniversaries for 3 members, Frank Fiella, Tom DeCruci, and Tony Gendron. And they are starting up on training, Firefighting 1 and maybe 2 now. And they are also starting a fire prevention program, which will be open to the public. So stay tuned on that one.
Okay, thank you for sharing that report. Superintendent of Water and Sewer, Andy Teese.
Good evening. Paul's not here tonight, so I'm going to read his report. Village engineer. Pleasantville Road paving was completed today. Yes. The line striping will hopefully be completed by the end of next week. The majority of the sidewalk and paving was funded via CHIPS monies, with the balance coming from the Chilmark developer contribution. The village's 2014 operating budget and possibly some reimbursement monies from Con Edison. The last funding source is presently being pursued. The village would like to thank the property owners along this corridor for their patience during the logistically challenging project. We'd also like to thank the OPD for their assistance, along with the village annual bidder who completed this project. In addition to the road work, the village completed extensive sidewalk restoration throughout the village to repair sidewalks that were damaged by utility work, tree roots, etc., or assessment sidewalk work, or curb and sidewalk repair for drainage improvements. Or lastly, ADA compliance, which over 40 handicap ramps were either repaired or newly constructed this year alone. The Kilbrook Sewer Project, which is covered by the DEC consent order, is scheduled to be completed by October 10th. We have contacted the regional DEC regulator in charge of monitoring this project to have her come and do a walkthrough and to see if everything is up to date as far as certifications and if it's satisfactory to their consent order, which we believe it is. The new parking regulation signage was installed along Cedar Place and Meadowbrook Drive to satisfy recent local laws passed by the board. These local laws, as well as some of the sidewalk and ADA improvements completed with the Ossining School District, were developed collectively by the manager's office and OPD and planning department and the DPW in an effort to promote safer roads and walkways village-wide. Lastly, as we approach the leaf collection season in the DPW, we want to remind everyone that although we'll be collecting leaves piled on your property, not on the street, please, with our vacuum starting in a few weeks, residents always have the option to place their organic yard waste in biodegradable bags weekly for curbside collection. So that's Paul's report.
Thank you.
And my report. Indian Brook Reservoir is presently at 99%. Last month we were at 92%. Currently we're purchasing 85% of our water from New York City. Last month we were purchasing 100% of our water from New York City. This week we just completed our annual survey for our water system by Westchester County Department of Health. The survey results were acceptable to their standards. The survey takes about 2 days to complete. Basically, the Westchester County engineer will walk through all of our process control systems in the distribution along with the filter plant and all sampling protocols. So pass that with flying colors. We will start our biannual water distribution flushing program October 5th. The entire system takes approximately 5 weeks to be flushed. 10 years ago, this process took 8 weeks. It was reduced by 3 weeks because the village has been so aggressive with the rehabilitation of the water mains over the last 10 years. And prior to that 10 years before that, it was very aggressive too. So that was well done. The installation of the emergency generator filter plant and John Paul Rodriguez Operations Center. The contractor has started the planning process for the installation of the new generator filter plant. All markouts are complete. We expect the generator to be installed within the next 4 months. And at the Operations Center, we're moving right along. The conduits have been installed, the concrete pad has been installed, and the generators are scheduled to be installed by the end of October. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is our treasurer, Tom Sworn.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Trustees. I'd like to mention a few of the items that are on the agenda tonight. The legislative agenda includes a budget modification of $90,000 to bring the 2014 estimated tax surcharge claims expenditures to $340,000, as well as a bond resolution on the agenda tonight to provide the means to finance the tax surcharge claims over 10 years, which is the maximum period of probable usefulness that is authorized by the local finance law. And this would cost about $38,000 annually over the 10 years. Also on tonight's agenda is a budget modification to transfer $35,427 from the village's water and sewer funds contingency accounts to allow us to upgrade the water and sewer utility software in the finance department, which will have the added benefits of providing internet web portals for customers to check on water consumption and account history, as well as to make web payments, including credit card payments, and to allow us to issue more meaningful and informational water and sewer utility bills, amongst other benefits. And it's also allow us to upgrade our property tax collection software as well. I also like to mention that following the town's auction last month on various parcels for which they had foreclosed for non-payment of taxes, and also included some village parcels that the village also had some unpaid tax liens on, namely 94 State Street plus the 2 Priestley Street parcels. I've been advised that the town board next Tuesday night will be adopting resolutions to accept the high bids that were bid at the auction, and as a result of that, the village is going to have to take some follow-up action as well to settle the amount of the auction amount of the purchase price against the outstanding tax liens. In our case, the amount of the bids on these 3 parcels were less than the amount of the outstanding taxes. So we're going to need a corresponding resolution to accept the lesser amount, as well as so that the town can actually do the closing by the end of the month, I hope. And also, we're continuing our efforts to collect the remaining unpaid 2014 village property taxes. There's about $512,000 outstanding at the end of August, which is less than 2.5% of the tax warrant, and also unpaid tax liens of about $416,000. I have no major revenues to be reported on at this time. As you know, we are working on the 2015 budget, and our office is working hard to get the department head budget submissions into the system and to the village manager by October 3rd. And finally, we are in the process of contacting our local fiscal advisor and prepare for our upcoming annual bond and bond anticipation note sale, which this year will include serial bond for the Kilbrook Sewer Reconstruction Project that we had issued bond anticipation notes last year. Also included will be Parks Department trucks, Police Department vehicles, motorcycles, and radio repeater systems that have been authorized and purchased, water system and the Rodriguez Operations Center generators, and also the water main replacement and relining project. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Our village planner, Valerie Menastra.
Good evening. Highlighting on some of the different projects that are occurring in the planning department. 36, I'm going to touch upon the larger development projects before our boards. 36 Water Street. This is a project that's proposing to build 137 units with 10% affordable housing. The planning board is still requesting the applicant to appear before its board to finally discuss how they would like to proceed, if the planning board is going to take over the final environmental impact statement or if the applicant plans to proceed with it. Hudson Step, the applicant proposes to build 188 units, including infrastructure improvement, historic preservation, 10% affordable housing, and green buildings. A public hearing on the final environmental impact statement is being held on September 23rd at 7 p.m. at the John Paul Rodriguez Housing Operations Center, and public comment will be taken until October 28th at 4:30 p.m. on this project. In response to the school district's concerns with this project and knowing that pending legislation was coming through the village board, this applicant has chosen to remove, or has proposed to remove, all 3 bedrooms in its particular project. So it's only going to be 1 and 2 bedroom project now, with the same number of units. That's correct. And so after this process, after the FEIS process is finalized, then the planning board will be starting to work on its finding statement, and this particular project will be back in front of the village board shortly, because the village board will need to provide this particular project a special permit. So you'll be seeing them shortly in the upcoming work sessions. Victoria Home, the applicant proposes to reconstruct their facilities and create 110 beds. We have been contacted by the applicant, and the draft environmental impact statement will be submitted to the planning department next week, so we'll begin review of that. 25 Secor Road, the applicant proposes to build a 7-unit mixed-use building. We were dealing with fire access with this building, but I think a resolution has been made, so we're hoping that the planning board will be able to move forward with this particular building. And the owner has been contacted, and I believe the building department has been dealing with the situation down there, and the planning board is well aware of that as well, and so they want to get this project moving forward so that something better will be in place of what's existing there. Also, the Planning Board and Board of Architectural Review have reviewed 27 new applications so far this year. The Zoning Board of Appeals has reviewed 24 applications. The Historic Preservation Commission has worked on 7 applications. And the Environmental Advisory Council has worked on 4 LWRP applications reviewed this year. And ironically, we actually have more applications this year than we did last year. And initially this year started off as a very slow year, but has really been picking up towards the end of the year. Pace University Streamlining Study. The Pace has finished their streamlining report. The final report has been issued to the village, and the planning department is already beginning work on and exploring some of the recommendations. And then finally, the Park Promenade Grant. Henry Atterbury, Superintendent of Parks and Rec, and I, as well as Leo Torres from the Ginsberg Development Corporation, met out in the field and spent a lot of time looking over the proposed plans for the park and the details, and that will be presented to you probably within the next month or so at a work session. They wanted to get Henry's feedback first to make sure they were identifying, proper materials, and also get his feedback on, different playground equipment and some of the other designs. So we will be looking forward to that, and I think you will be very pleased with what's going to be built down there. Thank you.
Thank you. Director of Code Enforcement, Al Soranka.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board.
Al.
I have the Village of Ossining Building Department's activity reports for July and August. So I'm going to try to combine them. I can go by a little quicker. New complaints in July were 67. We had 47 this month in August. New and old complaints closed in July was 54. And we had 65 that were closed this month in August. Total complaints year-to-date are 552. Notice of violations that were issued in July were 40, and this month there were 22. Closed in July were 58, and closed this month was 81. Total to date of violations are 316. Court appearance tickets issued in July was 23, and this month there were 7. Court appearance tickets that were closed last month were 5, and this month 7. Total court appearance tickets to date are 93. And I'd like to just point something out while we're here, just to go over a couple comments that were made earlier. I just want to point out that there's 552 complaints to date, and there's 316 ordered remedies, which are violations that were issued. And out of that number, we have 93 cases that unfortunately had to come to court. Now, the building department takes their job very seriously, and it's a life safety situation that we are there to prevent violations from happening. OTRs are given, everyone is given a chance to comply before a ticket is issued. I just want to make that understood, that everybody understands. And if you look at the numbers, they show the number one goal of the building department is compliance. Forget about the money, okay? It's not about the money. And we have a very hard working, dedicated staff at the Village of Ossining Building Department. It's been shown, and I'd like to just give them kudos here tonight for the fine job that they do, and also in conjunction with the other departments, planning, DPW, water department, rec department. We all work very hard here for the Village of Ossining residents. Now, just to and also just to point out, if we are doing some research about other communities, let's take a look at their violations, let's take a look at their complaints, let's take a look at everything that they do, and apples for apples. And then I'm sure we're going to turn around and say, you know what? Other communities can turn around and say, let's see what we can do to be like Ossining. Because, you know what? It's about time that people take a good look at what we've done. Now, to just move on, sorry about that, just to move forward. Court fines assessed in July were $1,550. Court fines assessed this month were $2,675. Court fines assessed year to date, $43,925. Building permits were 44 last month, $9,975 in fees. And this month, there were 33 new building permits, fee totaling $10,240. Certificate of occupancies issued last month were 29. This month, 33, last month was 29, and this month were 28. Final cost affidavit fees in July were $8,930. Here in August were $750. We had 25 plumbing permits last month, fee totaling $1,900. 23 plumbing permits this month, fee totaling $1,800. Last month, electrical permits 34, $2,650. This month, electrical permits 23, fee totaling $1,960. Backflow applications received last month was 1 for $100, and this month there were 6 for $600. Overnight parking inspections last month, 96. This month, 50. 28 Section 8 inspections last month, and 29 this month. Fire assembly inspections were 7 last month and 7 this month. And finally, building and plumbing inspections last month were 192, and this month, 206. And real quick, it's that time of year again. All property owners are required by New York State Code to provide all their tenants with a minimum temperature of 68 degrees at all times from September 15th through May 31st. If anyone has a heat complaint, please call the building department at 941-3199 during business hours, which are 9 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. And if it's after hours, please call the police department at 941-4099. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Al. And I think we're in agreement about the hardworking department.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Al, so if my apartment is 70 degrees, I have to call you guys up, come and lower it down?
Call us up.
Thank you,
They
Al.
come over and they open the window. Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, Henry Atterbury.
And on a lighter note,
We have, just go through some of the registration. We have 75 children signed up for the Spartan swimming team. We have 104 children in the after-school program. They're there every day between 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, from September to June. That's 179 children in those two programs that come to the community center every day for 3 hours year-round. We have 30 swimmers on the girls' high school swim team that are also using the pool every day, Monday through Friday. Today at the community center we had 60 seniors. There were 30 in the pool and 30 in the gym. Might even have been 40 in the gym doing exercise classes. And so the programming at the community center is packed. That time of year the programs have started. We also have approximately 200, a little over 200 children in this round of swim classes. Over the last spring we hit our high of 290, but we're at 200 now. So the swimming programs are going strong. We're $14,000 ahead in revenue from where we were at the same point in time last year, so our revenues are right on line with where they were and actually a little bit ahead of where they were last year as of today. This Saturday, you mentioned earlier, there is a health expo up at Richard Wishney Park, the old Reservoir Park. That's from 10 to 2. And there will be also, in addition to the other things that were mentioned, there will be kayaks in the pond. We will have lifeguards there to supervise. And so if you want to come up and try out a kayak, if you've never kayaked before, you can go in and get a kayak and paddle across the pond and try it out. And we will have people there to supervise and watch, and lifeguards on site. One last thing I guess I would say. We finished, as of this past week, 5 playgrounds in the community. There were 2 in the town and 3 in the village, and I will say that I think that the playgrounds are actually getting very positive comments from people all throughout the community, and the 2 that we put in the town also. So 5 of those, and we finished over the summer one of the other projects that you were so, I think, visionary in funding, and that was the LED lighting in the gym. The LED lighting is there now. It's better than it ever was. It provides more lighting in the gym, and it's saving about $8,000 to $10,000 a year in electricity. So that means somewhere in 2 to 2.5 years it'll pay off the lighting, and then you'll get another somewhere about 20 years of savings of anywhere between $8,000 and $10,000 a year. That means you could get anywhere from $160,000 to $200,000 in savings over the next 20 years. And the lights are better. We had the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference came today because they're going to be holding their annual conference in a few weeks at the community center in the gym. So there'll be people coming from all over New York and New Jersey and Connecticut that are part of the Trail Conference to hold their annual meeting there. Senator Carlucci's office is holding a senior rally, or at least they're planning to do that in a few weeks. And the gym hasn't looked better, and the lighting hasn't. In 15 years, that's the best lighting that we've ever had. So thank you very much, and I think the residents are pleased with the projects.
Thank you, Henry. Would you tell the public where the 5 playgrounds are?
Sure. So we put a new playground in Dale Avenue Park and some new swings. The playground that had been there, we took it out a couple of years ago. It was over 20 years old and it was dangerous. We tore that out. So at the bottom of Dale Avenue, right along the stream, put some benches in, some landscaping in, new swings in at Dale Avenue. We went to Veterans Park. The complaint that we had from the residents around there is that the playground equipment was really targeted to younger children, the 5, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, and many people had children originally there when they were that age, but now they're 11, 12, and 13. They didn't find it challenging, and I spoke to a couple of people that live up in that area. I think Valerie may be one of those people that commented that when you go there, the new tower that we put in there that has a sort of a spider net thing, it's just covered with kids all the time. It's getting a tremendous amount of use. We went to Nelson Avenue Park down by the Kentucky Fried Chicken, and we put a massive playground down there that has really upgraded that. We took out that old fire truck that I'm sure had some historical value to somebody, and no, I didn't give it away or take it home, so like the concrete turtle from years ago. Anyways, there's a massive playground down at the bottom by Kentucky Fried Chicken. I was there the other day with some people from Ginsburg Capelli, and that playground had people in the middle of the afternoon. There were people out using it, so that gets a lot of use, and I've had a lot of emails, comments from people about how pleased they were with that. The town put in some additional playground up at Ryder Park, playgrounds and swings. Over on Buck Johnson, which is Blue Lantern Road, they put another playground over there. We got rid of a basketball court that really wasn't being used, and we put a playground over there, and that's getting a lot of use. So 5 well-placed and again, well-utilized now already playgrounds in the community. And again, the LED lighting was tops. It's so much better than the lighting was there, and you're saving $8,000 to $10,000 a year in electricity. It was
Thank you.
Very good.
Excellent.
Very
Thank you,
nice.
Henry.
Thank you, Henry.
So I want to just jump in and, first of all, thank Henry for overseeing all these projects. To do that many projects at once and get them all accomplished is a major accomplishment. The other thing I wanted to share, which I know the board is well aware of, but the public would be interested to know, that at least for the funding for the Village of Ossining, all these projects were funded from, they're called payment in lieu of recreation fees. So when developers come in and they're unable to provide on-site recreation for some of these projects and apartments that we see coming in, they pay into the village's payment in lieu of rec fees. And so all of these projects are only made possible through contributions and mandated payments by developers. None of these projects were paid for from taxpayer-raised funds. So just so everybody knows that.
Okay, just a point of clarification, the senior event on October 23rd is actually a senior fair sponsored by Senator Carlucci's office. Okay, and our next speaker is the Director of Personnel, Linda McMahon.
Good evening. Next week, we're going to be resuming our safety training and make sure we continue with all of our compliant requirements. There are going to be 2 full days of excavation and trenching as well as the confined space. And all employees from DPW, Water, and Parks will be required to attend. And then in October, we're going to be scheduling a makeup training day for those employees who were unable to attend the earlier training day we had in May that covered 8 of the required topics, such as the hazardous communication and bloodborne pathogens, things like that. And that will bring us into compliance again for the rest of the year. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is organizational announcements. Does anyone here come to make any announcements? Okay, if it please the board, we'd like to move into the village board resolutions. Anyone here come to speak to any of the resolutions on this evening's agenda? All right. I'd like to move on to item A, approval of minutes, September 3rd, 2014. Regular meeting. Resolved that the Board of Trustees have resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the September 3rd regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
The board. Clerk.
Okay.
Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The motion is passed. Sorry, I'm not as fast as the clerk at this. Item B, approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves a voucher detail report dated September 17th, 2014, in the amount of $778,339.22.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Board. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item D, a resolution authorizing the issuance of not exceeding $340,000 bonds of the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, to pay the cost of certain judgments, comprised claims, or settled claims resulting from court orders on proceedings brought pursuant to Article 7 of the real property tax law due and payable in the current fiscal year of said village. Be it resolved by the affirmative vote of not less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, as follows. Section 1, for the objective purpose of paying the cost of certain judgments, comprised claims, or settlement claims resulting from court orders on proceedings brought pursuant to Article 7 of the real property tax law due and payable in the current fiscal year of the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, including incidental expenses in connection therewith, they are hereby authorized to be issued up to $340,000 bonds of said village pursuant to the provision.
Could we, if we're going to have a private conversation, please take it out? Don't really want you to leave. I just.
Sorry, what?
But
Oh, yeah, can I say that?
No, this isn't the
this
time for
is
public
the wrong
comment.
time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay. Okay. Fiscal year of the Village of Austin, Westchester County, New York, including incidental expenses in connection therewith, are hereby authorized to be issued up to $340,000 bonds of said village pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law. Section 2. The maximum estimated cost of the aforesaid class of objects or purposes is $340,000, and the plan of the financing thereof shall is by the issuance of $340,000 bonds of said village herein. Such bonds are to be payable from amounts which shall annually be levied on all the taxable real property in said village, and the faith and credit of said village, Westchester County, New York, are hereby pledged for the payment of said bonds and the interest thereon. Move to Section 8. This resolution shall constitute a statement of official intent for purposes of Treasury Regulations Section 1.150-2. Other than as specified in this resolution, no monies are or are reasonably expected to be reserved, allocated on a long-term basis, or otherwise set aside with respect to the permanent fundings of the object or purpose described herein. Section 9. This resolution takes effect immediately and shall be published in summary form in the official newspaper of said village for such purpose, together with a notice of the village clerk in substantially the form provided in Section 81.00 of the local finance law. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
On the board. Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I need a roll call vote. Trustee DeRio?
Yes.
Trustee Casada?
Aye.
Trustee Garrity?
Aye.
Mayor Hannah? Okay. All right. So moved. So item E, finance budget modification for tax certiorari claims. Resolve the 2014 adopted budget is hereby modified for additional tax certiorari claims settlements of $90,000, estimated to aggregate $340,000 for the year as follows. Increase general fund tax certiorari claims by $80,000. Decrease general fund estimated revenues from real property taxes for $10,000. And increase general fund estimated revenues for serial bonds tax certiorari claims $90,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Board.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item F, authorization for a village to accept payment and satisfaction of foreclosed tax lien for 15 Cedar Lane. Whereas, in accordance with Ossining Village Charter, Article 4, the village treasurer is charged with the duty of collecting real property taxes from persons named in the tax roll, and in accordance with New York State Real Property Tax Law, Section 1110, the village treasurer has the authority on or before the expiration of the applicable redemption period to accept payment of real property taxes from such persons, along with all charges authorized by law for real property subject to delinquent tax liens. And whereas the applicable redemption period expired as of July 30th, 2014 for the 2011 real property taxes, which has become delinquent tax liens in May 2012, and with such expiration of the redemption period, the treasurer has no authority without action of the Board of Trustees to accept further payments. And whereas, notwithstanding the expiration of such redemption period, the property owner for property located at 15 Cedar Lane, 89.11-1-61, has provided sufficient proof of 1. An ability to pay in full all taxes and assessments against the subject property to bring the account up to date, and 2, the ability to make a full and complete settlement and satisfaction of the foreclosed delinquent tax lien. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Ossining Board of Trustees hereby authorizes and directs the treasurer to accept payment in an amount sufficient to pay in full the total amount, including any interest, penalties, and other charges authorized by law of the real property taxes for property located at 15 Cedar Lane in the Village of Ossining, and authorizes any and all necessary filings or notifications to evidence a release of said lien against the real property. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item G, Finance, Budget Modification, 2014 Budget Modification for upgrade to water sewer billing software. Resolve, the 2014 water and sewer funds budgets are modified to transfer appropriations for upgrades to the village's water sewer billing software as follows. Increase water fund appropriations from data processing computer support in the amount of $20,407.50 and data processing customer support $7,784.50. The total increase to the water fund appropriations $28,192. Decrease the water fund appropriations from contingency in the amount of $28,192. Increase sewer fund appropriations from data processing computer support in the amount of $5,351.50. And data processing customer support in the amount of $1,883.50. Total increase to sewer fund appropriations of $7,235. Decrease the sewer fund appropriations from contingency for the amount of $7,235. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
On the board, clerk.
All those in favor?
Wait,
Oh.
we have a comment.
Actually, if you guys missed the work session from last week, this is a topic that Tom, our treasurer, brought into in front of us, and I think this is just an additional step that the village of Austin is doing to try to go more green in a lot of areas. And what this program does is going to eliminate, or at least facilitate, or give you the option to get a bill on your water bill. Every 3 months, instead of you getting paper bill that you get in the mail, you have that option to get it on your email, or you can go website, have access to this. And it's going to be similar for what Tom explained to us, give us some samples, and I think when we get a little bit more of the details, we're going to may be able to post something like a sample of a form that is going to look like. It's going to give you an average, more like if you get a Con Ed bill, it gives you an average through the month saying how water is being consumed. So I think this is a great program that our treasurer is putting ahead, and hopefully will eliminate a lot of the paperwork for him as well. So, but that's just a hope. We'll find something else for him to do in the meantime. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. We all of our department heads, and as you said, especially our treasurer, are always looking for ways to do things better and more efficient and produce a better product for our residents.
Maybe you could help Al. Oh, never mind.
Continuing business of the board. Does anybody have any?
We have to vote?
Oh, I thought. Okay,
No.
that's right. Do we? Okay, so do we have a motion? I had the first. I had a first and a second, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is carried. So, item 7, continuing business of the board.
No.
Any new business of the board?
No.
Okay, may we entertain a motion for recess, unless there's someone here to address the board?
Bobby, you're going to want to speak? Okay.
Okay.
Then we don't need a reason.
Okay, I'd like to request an adjournment to executive session for pending litigation discussion
So moved.
and
Second.
personnel.
Second.
Okay. Wonderful. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you.
Aye.
This ends the televised portion of this evening's agenda. Please join us on Saturday for all of those wonderful events. And we will see you next Wednesday at Village Hall, 16 Croton Avenue at 7:30 for the work session. Night. Good week.